Welcome back, everybody. Episode 22 officially of New York State of Sports. Ricky Keeler back with you here at IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all those sports. On this episode of New York Sports, another playoff post game because we have the Madison Square Garden team still alive, still having their home venues be the main stadiums for their series. It started Sunday afternoon. The Rangers are now 5-0 in the playoffs as they beat the Hurricanes 4-3, an early start, and then having to survive at the end. Is it cause for concern to some degree? Or what do the Rangers really take away from Game 1 and this, what I think will be a long series? And we have to talk Knicks after that epic finish in Philadelphia Thursday night, particularly by Jalen Brunson. They are into round 2. We will recap Game 6. We'll look back one more time before we look ahead to later tonight, beginning of round 2 against an Indiana Pacers squad where Tyrese Halliburton might look to channel his inner Reggie Miller. It's all coming up next here on New York State of Sports. See you in a bit. Follow me on Twitter at Ricator555. Follow the show on Twitter at NYStateSportsIE. You could also email me, rickjkeeler@gmail.com. I'm usually tweeting from the show's Twitter account during some of these games, so please feel free to get involved in the chat. I want to hear from you during the games. You got a question or a thought you want to give after the game, I will try to get it on the air. We're going to be doing these after every game during this postseason, or at least as many as we can. But over the next, if you look at the playoff schedule over the next week, if the Knicks aren't playing one night, the Rangers usually playing that night. So we're going to have a lot of fun. And what's been eerily similar about these last few weeks has been the comparison to 1994, where the Knicks, of course, reached the NBA Finals. The Rangers win the Stanley Cup. And you add a couple other interesting tidbits that make it very eerily similar. Yankee game Saturday. Aaron Judge gets thrown out of the game for the first time. And we could dive into that ejection, and we probably will on Thursday's show every Thursday, 2 p.m. here on the network live. But the last time a Yankee captain got thrown out of the game was Don Mattingly in 1994. Keep in mind, the last time the Rangers won the President's Trophy and won the Stanley Cup in 1994, they won their first 5 games. Again, that's not the end-all, be-all. If both teams want to reach their goal, they've got over a month of tough series to go. But the 1994 comparisons just don't stop. Either way, the Rangers pick up a big win in Game 1, final score 4-3 over the Carolina Hurricanes in a series that I said on Thursday that I think this series will go 7. I don't really see any reason why I would change that pick. I thought this game was definitely a fast start. I think faster than anybody would have expected. Just because you had the Rangers on a 7-day layoff, the Hurricanes in a 5-day layoff, and both teams taking it a step up in the level of competition. The Rangers played a Capitals team that didn't have a lot of experience on their playoff roster outside of Ovechkin, Oshie, and Carlson. The Islanders, Carolina played the Islanders, and while those games were close at times, Carolina clearly looked the better team, and the Islanders were bad on the power play in that series. You're now playing a Ranger team that is one of the best in the power play in the AHL. Carolina is right up there with them. But the key was also to keep the Garden engaged, and we've seen how much when you keep Madison Square Garden engaged, what type of home venue that is, especially this time of year when it seems the city is behind these two teams. Where in baseball, you have the Yankees and the Mets. In football, you have the Giants and Jets. Sometimes those teams, maybe if it's a Super Bowl, the Giants and Jets cases or things like that, might get behind each other. A small faction because you still have that diehards that will really not root for the other team. It just seems like the city has kind of rallied around both of these teams. And the further these playoff runs go, the more energy it's going to bring to the venue if it's not bursting already. And it was bursting early in the gate. Rangers get on the board less than 3 minutes into the game. Mika Zibanejad gets his second of the year. or second of the postseason, and Mika's been money so far these playoffs. A guy that really did not have the best regular season. He has found a way to step it up in the playoffs. He gets the first goal from Roslovic and Adam Fox. Keep in mind, Peter Laviolette did not make any changes to his lines. I think that's the right move. I know Phil Petel, a lot of reports saw that he was in practice working in different combinations. But if everything is working, there's no reason for this team to necessarily fix it. At least right now. Now, if things get panicky and the Rangers start to take a little bit of a mini slide, then you might use Hedl as a burst down the road. What tells you so far is that Laviolette's not going to push that button unless he has to. Because why would you? He's got everybody clicking, especially his top lines. So Zibanejad delivers, makes it 1-0. Carolina comes right back. About a minute, 2 later, Jacob Slavin, his first goal from Aho and Gensel, ties the game at 1. But then the Rangers get a little bit of help from Carolina. A roughing penalty on Tony DeAngelo, former Ranger, leads to a power play goal from Zibanejad, his second of the period. Chris Kreider gets an assist along with Vinny Trocheck. Rangers take the lead. Later in the period, Evgeny Kuznetsov gets called for a cross-check at Adam Fox. 15 seconds later, Trocheck puts up his fourth of the playoffs from Zibanejad and Kreider. You look at those two power plays, 9 seconds apart, 9 seconds into the power play, Zibanejad scores. 15 seconds into the next power play, Trocheck scores. The Rangers had 2 power plays the entire game. They converted them both. You're not going to get many power play chances in this series. And Carolina has one of the better penalty kills in the AHL, although the Rangers are right up there with them as well. And they've only been able to not, basically on the penalty kill, they're 20 for 22 in these playoffs, which is remarkable. But the Rangers, when you get those chances, you've got to take advantage, and those top 2 lines did. So you took a 3-1 lead into the end of the first period. You're feeling good. Things are going great. You outshot the Hurricanes 7-6 in the period. So not only did you get a lot of goals, but you get it on not many shots against a good goalie in Anderson. So great things going forward. Second period, a little bit tougher. Rangers had a 10-6 shot advantage, but they were also spending a lot of time in the penalty kill. They had 2 penalties in that second period. One on Trouba cross-checking Stefan Noesen, and then later in the period, Adam Fox called for a slash on Andrei Svechnikov. Rangers, though, were able to convert, and Carolina had a lot of chances early, particularly in that first period. Right after they tied the game, you had Martin Nikas miss a shot off the post. You had Brady Shea miss a shot off the post. I mean, they came out firing. Even when they got down 1-0, Rod Brindamore's club found that gear. And it could easily have been 1-1, 2-1, whatever it was. Like, that was there for the taking for the Hurricanes. And sometimes the puck bounces your way. But the Rangers dodged 2 penalties in the second, and all of a sudden it's a 3-1 game going to the third. Okay, you don't feel great about a 2-goal lead, but at least you have it. Then Carolina comes right back. Martin Nikas, his second of the postseason from Martinook and Orlov. Less than 3 minutes in. Great pass by the Hurricanes from center. They get it down where Nikas is, right near Shesterkin. He delivers on a one-on-one chance. It's 3-2. And the Hurricanes have kind of changed the tide in a sense where they've had more of the scoring chances. Even though the Rangers had Lafreniere hit one off the post later in the third. But that's where Artemi Panarin comes in. Panarin with his third go-ahead goal, or what ends up being the deciding goal in these first 5 games. His third of the postseason from Lafreniere, and the problem was that's a goal. That's a shot Anderson has to stop. Frederik Anderson's been great in this postseason, and Panarin even said he got it under his armpit. But that's what Artemi Panarin needs to do: put more shots on the net. That was a criticism he took last year when they lost to the Devils. Was where was Panarin just getting shots and forcing the issue? He's doing that this year. And this is a player that's kind of having his... I know he's had big New York playoff moments before, such as that goal against the Penguins a few years ago to cinch the series in a Game 7. But the more moments Panarin has like this, the more he can etch himself in a more significant piece in Ranger lore. So they take a 4-2 lead. Carolina doesn't go away quietly. Seth Jarvis puts up his 4th of the year with about a minute 41 to go. All of a sudden, what looked like the Rangers were going to get a nice 2-goal win, Carolina's cut it to 1. Then it gets more dicey. You have a delay of game where Trocheck put the puck over the glass. Carolina now has the empty net and an extra man with the power play. But then Rangers catch a break. Not really a break because it's the right call. Svechnikov gets called for tripping Ryan Lindgren. It goes back to kind of that even strength, empty net vibe. Rangers hang on. In the third period where Carolina outshot them 13-6. And New York all of a sudden comes away with the victory. Now, a couple things to keep in mind here for the Rangers. Great start, first off. You want to get that first win. And that's the big key to setting up a series. But the problem when you look at the Rangers, I still think 5-on-5 is somewhat of a concern. Now, they can open things up. Remember, Carolina wants to play that man-to-man kind of hockey. So they can make that happen. So the Rangers will try to spread it around, create more space, and get some goals going. But to only get those 2 power play chances, it shows you're not going to get a lot of chances to score with the extra man. 5-on-5 has got to be a focus. And Carolina, at times, found their way with 5-on-5. And you can't have 5 penalties and survive the way they did today. Or Sunday. You had the penalty earlier in the first period where Matt Rempe got called for interfering with Anderson. Rempe picking up another penalty, but he's done a nice job winning the game. But again, when you give this Hurricane team that's got the offensive firepower, they're able to put pucks on the net. And it's going to be a talent challenge for Shesterkin. Remember, he held his own 2 years ago when the Rangers won in 7. He knows this challenge. This team knows this challenge. But if you're the Hurricanes, then you've got to look at it this way. You went on the road to a tough environment on a 5-day layoff, had 5 power play opportunities, didn't score 1, still only lost by a goal. The opportunities are out there. And there's going to be a game or two in this series where Igor is going to have to stand on his head and win a game. Now, he can. But I think if you're a Ranger fan out there feeling optimistic, and I agree with you, there's still some things you want to work on. Top 2 lines were great. But can these top 2 lines do it for Aces in this series if this goes 5, 6, 7? You're going to need some more production from those bottom 2 lines. You didn't get that today. And that's okay. You're going to have nights like we saw in the Washington series where their back 2 lines get the job done in game 1, your front lines do it in game 2. So the Rangers were able to get that done, and I think this is a team that knows the pressure it's on. Igor with 22 saves, 3rd goalie in franchise history with 5 straight wins. Dave Kerr back in 1937. Mike Richter, of course, we talked about 94 being the other one. Even Rod Brindamore said it after the game. He said the Hurricanes got better as the game went on. They missed those chances early, but I think the real Carolina team is what you saw in that third period, rather than the one that came out in the first and looked sloppy. But right now, the Rangers got to be happy that Mika is delivering. He's had 11 consecutive games with a point, 5 goals and 13 assists. You love what Rostovic's doing on this top line, kind of setting up Kreider and Zibanejad for success, and that's why the chemistry's clicking. Where you got even Trocheck, and I think Trocheck's a big factor, not only for his scoring, 4 straight games with a goal. He's had a point in every game so far. Think about what he's done in the faceoff. Now, Carolina did win more of the faceoffs this one, but there's only a 53-47 difference. Not, I think, too crazy. But Trocheck's going to go out there, and he's going to win those faceoffs and set you up for success, whether it's the power play, penalty kill, whatever it is. And you have a more comfortable Trocheck this year than you did last year. And Rangers know Trocheck very well from that time with Carolina. He's a difference maker in this series. So as the series shifts to Madison Square Garden on Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN, I still think if you're the Rangers, you want to get this second game. You want to get up 2-0. You want to make Carolina have to win 4 the next 5 to win the series. and kind of keep that momentum going. You don't want to have now have Carolina take game 2, take that to Raleigh, and the Rangers have won in Raleigh before, but keep the vibes going. Shesterkin's playing well. The offense is playing well. Got to tighten up those 5-on-5 chances. You got to stay out of the box. That's the key for game 2. Stay out of the box. You can't, like I mentioned earlier, you can't give up all of those power plays. If you keep playing with fire, you're going to get burned. This Rangers segment brought to you by Plant Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Plant Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, low in sugar, and high in protein. Plant Jerky, the jerky that is on a whole other planet. You can follow them on Instagram at Plant Jerky. Go to their website, planetjerky.net. So we'll take a break. We'll come back and we'll talk Knicks. An epic finish in Philadelphia. And a look ahead to the matchup with Indiana. Who's your X Factors? What to expect as this series begins tonight in the second round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. You're listening to New York State Sports and IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all bit of sports. We will be right back after this.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your 5-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Danya Vodovoz.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
Welcome back to another playoff preview show for IE. Knicks sealed the deal in round one. And it's a game that I didn't think the Knicks had. I thought they had a chance, and I wasn't shocked they pulled it off. But you think about the momentum from Game 5 and how this Knicks team was going to get off the mat and respond. And you found that answer early. Knicks were red hot shooting the basketball. They get up 36-22 going to the end of the first quarter. And really, at one point, I think it was like 21-7. Like they got off to the kind of game you need to get off to on the road. Silence the Philly crowd, hit some big shots. And they did that. But then Philly rallies back. A 32-15 quarter. Joel Embiid's finding his rhythm. All of a sudden, Philly's up at the half. Sixers even widen their lead to double digits in the third quarter. But the Knicks keep answering. End up making the game tied going into the fourth. And that's where Jalen Brunson took over. And I said it back in Game 3 and Game 4. I'll say it right now if you're listening outside of New York. If you don't believe in Jalen Brunson, then what's wrong with you? He is playing the last 4 games where he's 1 point away in Game 3 from having 40 points in 4 straight games. And he responded to the challenge. If you recall, I tweeted right before the miracle win in Game 2 that Jalen Brunson did not play like a superstar those first 2 games. And Jalen Brunson is held to a very high pedestal in New York. Well, he's delivered. He stepped up. And he did it in a big way. 14 points to mention in the final 6 minutes. 41 points, 12 assists, 13 of 27 shooting, 3 of 8 from 3. He had the big and one with about under a minute to go. Now the Knicks keep missing those free throws. And it's something we're going to get to and how that could be big in the next round. But to find a way to deliver the way he did, and I love what the Knicks did at the end of the game. They got the foul game right. They got up 3. Josh Hart takes the open look, which I think every fan's like, no, don't take it. Wind that shot clock down. He took it, nailed it. And what was the thing Nick Nurse was going to do at the beginning of the series? Let Josh Hart get open looks and hope, and if he makes them, he makes them. It bit him. Now, I know he didn't probably expect Josh Hart to be open in that situation. But it happened. Knicks play the foul game. Big free throws by Anunoby and Hart. Or I think it was DiVincenzo. But the Knicks were finding a way to hit those free throws. It was DiVincenzo when it was 114-113. He hit both. Then Brunson comes down with 7 seconds left. He hits both. Buddy Hield tries to take a miracle 3. It did not happen. And the Knicks find a way to win it 118-115. Speaking on Brunson, just the epic numbers that he's had. I mean, the numbers are crazy. It's like borderline, like Knicks fans will think of Bernard King. You've seen stats where Brunson is in Michael Jordan territory. Like, it has been unreal what he's been able to do. And he did it in the building that he's used to playing in at Villanova. I can pull up some of those stats for you, and it's been remarkable. Again, the ability he just gives and the leadership he gives off, because that team needed a leader for Game 6 to take the ball and go win a game. and not allow that series to go back to Madison Square Garden for Game 7. Brunson averaged 35.5 points, 9 assists in the Sixers series, as Mike Vorkunov had of The Athletic back late last week. The only other players in NBA history to average at least 35 and 9 in a 6-game span in a postseason: Nikola Jokic last year, Luka Doncic in 21, LeBron James twice in the late 2010s, and Jerry West. When you put yourself in that category, you're doing something special. But it wasn't just Jalen Brunson. It had to be a collective effort. Dante DiVincenzo was hitting threes early, finding that rhythm. 5 for 9 from three-point range. He had 23. Josh Hart, 16 points, 14 boards. He hit 3 threes, 7 assists. OG Anunoby, 17 shots that he took. He got 19 and 9. Did a good job defensively. Isaiah Hartenstein, 14 and 9. But the Knicks had to get it from their starters because they have no bench. With Bojan Bogdanovic out for the rest of the playoffs, they're really going with that 7-man bench. Mitchell Robinson got 18 minutes. He hit 2 points. Deuce McBride only played 9 minutes, only took 4 shots. And I think that's largely because DiVincenzo was finding a rhythm. But for a Knicks team to do this, again, with 7 players in their rotation, against 2 superstars, the Knicks did a fantastic job with their game plan, taking Maxey out of the game, making Joel Embiid do everything. It almost bit him. Embiid had 39 and 13, but he did nothing in the fourth quarter. For the second time in Philadelphia, the Knicks held Embiid in check down the stretch. That was big. Maxey had just 17 points. He was 1 for 6 from 3. Sixers stayed in this because of their role players. Finally stepped up. Kelly Oubre, who had a good series, 17 points, 5 boards on 7 of 14 shooting. Nick Batum hit 3 threes and 16 points. Buddy Hield hit 6 3-pointers. I'm sure Nick Nurse and even the Sixers fans were like, where has Buddy Hield been the entire series? This was the guy they traded for from Indiana. And it backfired. Like, essentially, by the time the Sixers bench got going, it was too late. And I think you look at what this Knicks team, it's something to celebrate. It's something to be excited about. But there's a tough test ahead, and it's the Indiana Pacers. That series starts tonight, 7:30 Eastern, and catch the game on TNT. Knicks right now, as I record this, going into Monday morning, a 6.5-point favorite, according to ESPN Bet. Now, a couple things to look at with this series. Pacers did win the season series 2-1, but there's a couple things you want to keep in mind. Indiana averaged 123 points in those 3 games. That's a big total. This is a Pacer team that wants to go up tempo, wants to make things a little bit fast-paced. Against a Knicks team that wants to crash the boards, be physical, slow the game down. They'll hit their shots, but if this is a track meet, Indiana's going to win because they can get out in transition. The Knicks kind of have to slow this game down. Now, back the last meeting on February 10th, Knicks didn't have OG Anunoby. The Pacers shot 61% from the floor. That's probably not going to happen again. Josh Hart had a minus 20. That's probably never happening again. Jalen Brunson against the Pacers this year averaged almost 36 points, shot 49%, got to the free throw line around 10 times. So you know Brunson's going to try to attack the rim, get those free throws. Tyrese Halliburton against the Knicks this year was very good. Almost 20 points, 13 assists. He does his thing. Halliburton had kind of his breakout during that mid-season, early season tournament kind of thing when Indiana got to the final. This is a Pacer team that is on the rise in the Eastern Conference. Halliburton's the main reason why. Also, their mid-season trade of Pascal Siakam. And the game the Knicks won at the Garden, I remember that game in early February. Halliburton was limited with his minutes, and Indiana was getting contributions from everywhere. I think Jalen Smith had a huge game. But Brunson willed them to win in that one. And it was kind of that whole, this Knicks team is real, kind of kept their winning streak going too. Now, Brunson is going to be going against Rick Carlisle, who's coached the Pacers. Rick Carlisle used to coach Brunson in Dallas. And what I found interesting was I listened to Rick Carlisle on the Dan Patrick Show this week. And what Carlisle said, that Brunson's a little bit of Steve Nash, James Harden, Dame Lillard, a lot of elements. He's doing something uniquely him. New York has turned him loose. Very much not looking forward to coaching versus him. And I'm sure Brunson kind of has the chip on his shoulder going up against his old coach. It's a guy in Dallas that really didn't get to emerge. Now, largely it's because of Luka Doncic. And Brunson got his opportunity here and he's thrived with it, but this is a guy in Brunson that has plenty of chips on his shoulder. That, and you remember we read the Players Tribune article right before the playoffs started. This is a guy that wants to get the Knicks to different heights. He remembers losing to Miami last year when the Knicks were the higher seed and had home court advantage, the same way they have this year. Now, it's not an 8th seed they're going against, like they were a year ago. But you have that motivation to get to that next round. It's going to be some interesting matchups here. One is going to be Miles Turner. Now, Turner's more of a guy who's going to take those perimeter shots. He's that big man that is going to look to more shoot from like the free throw line and back, then kind of make it a physical game in the paint. So the Knicks have to be very careful with that. You also have a case where Indiana has depth at guard. And he can throw different defenders. Now, they'll throw Naren Nesmith likely at Brunson, but you look at a guy like TJ McConnell who can be pesky against this group. Andrew Nembhard, like they've got those guys that are going to make things difficult. And if you're looking at guys going to be on Brunson, it's probably going to be Nesmith, who's at least going to try to stay with him. Pacers this year at 123 points per game, 6th highest in league history, best field goal percentage and assists. They reached 140 points 11 times, including back on December 30th. Knicks, remember, that was the game they had just made the Anunoby trade. What they gave up Barrett, they gave up quickly. They didn't have their full resources, so it made sense they were going to lose. You also have the Pacer revenge of Obi Toppin facing his former team. So there's a lot of fun drama in this series, but I think Indiana's guards, I think Indiana's got a lot of depth off their bench. That's also going to be a big key. If you go back to Thursday when Indiana beat Milwaukee 120-98 to seal that series, Pacers got 21 from Toppin off the bench, 20 from McConnell. That's their two big bench guys. Now, they did use Ben Shepherd for 19 minutes in Game 6, so at least they used another guard in that spot, so they've got depth at the guard position. But looking at Game 6, Nembhard had 14, Nesmith 15. So in total, you had 6 guys with 14-plus points. So Indiana's got a balanced scoring attack. Now, they're led by Halbert. He's going to facilitate, make things happen. But they can get things done a variety of ways. In Game 6, they shot 54% from the floor, and they were 15 of 17 from the free throw line. The Knicks are still struggling with free throws. And it didn't cost them the last game. They hit them down the stretch. But in Game 6, they were 18 for 24 from the line. Now, again, we can't even take Mitchell Robinson free throws out of there because he didn't take one in Game 6. So it's still, you're making just 75% of your free throws. Philly was 22 for 23. And when you've got physical, close games in these playoffs, you have to make free throws. You don't have a choice. Those could win and lose you games. So when you look at those 6 misses, Brunson had 4 of them. The other 2 were Anunoby, who had an N1, and when he dunked on Embiid, he missed the free throw. You got to convert those N1s in the postseason because you never know when they'll come back to bite you. Now, there's 3 other factors I look for in this series. 1, what do the Knicks do with Anunoby? Now, he played with Siakam in Toronto. I would think that's the matchup there because you're going to probably have Hart stick with Halliburton. You could put Deuce on Halliburton for a little bit. But the Knicks have a bunch of different options they can throw at him. And do they take the same approach they did with Maxey? I don't think so. Because Halliburton's okay with facilitating and giving it up to his teammates. You almost have to essentially make him take that outside shot. You have to make Indiana shoot. Like, they're going to want to make that, or at least make them settle into twos. Because they're going to want to shoot the three. That's a big thing for this group. You look back to Game 6 against Milwaukee, Indiana took 43s, they made 13. Now, you go to Game 5, which was the game they lost 115-92 to Milwaukee. Well, just look at those two games. They were 12 for 38. Still, those two games, they were right. So, around a 30% clip as a team. They're not going to really scare you from three outside of Halliburton. So, you got to make those guys, the Nemhards, the Neesmiths, Toppin, who had 2-3. You got to make those guys shoot. Maybe not Doug McDermott, because remember from Creighton, he's going to hit some shots. But the Pacers want to make it fast. Knicks want to slow it down. I said Neesmith's an X factor. Of the Knicks, I'm going to go with Dante DiVincenzo again. When DiVincenzo hits more than 2 threes, his team usually wins. Let's look at the Philly series. Against Indiana this year, DiVincenzo was 13 for 36 from beyond the arc in 3 games. He's going to take those shots. But can he continue to be that second reliable scorer with Jalen Brunson? If he doesn't, you're going to see Tibbs go to McBride, maybe for that defensive pressure and getting that quick spark. The factor for the Knicks also that hurts this series, they're playing every other day. There's no 2 days in between games. When you have a short rotation, I think you could use a day where you have it 2 days in between. Not the case for them here. Can those legs hold up? Or does Thibodeau at least introduce a Precious Achiuwa more into the rotation? Does he introduce more of Jacob Toppin into the rotation? Like, does he find a way to get more players in? Or is this going to be strictly those guys go down? They're built for this. But how long can they go at that pace? We're going to see. But Thibodeau's built them up in the regular season for this. For all the criticisms he's taken if he plays these guys too long in the regular season, at the very least, they're prepared for this kind of thing. But other teams might go to that as out of desperation. They don't have to here. So Game 1 is Monday, Game 2 Wednesday, Game 3 Friday, Game 4 Sunday. So again, it's every other day in this series. Even Game 5 would be next Tuesday. The only time there's a 2 days in between, it would be between Games 5 and 6. So that usually you get one of those 2-3 days rest in between, like 2-3 things like we saw at the Philly series. They had 2 days in between a couple of games. You don't get that here. So what's my prediction? I'm going to say Knicks in 7. Now you could say I'm giving a lot of respect to Indiana. Yes. I could also say this is a Knicks team that just came off a very physical series. Both these teams have had 3 days off, but again, who recovers better? Indiana didn't really have to sweat against Milwaukee. Yes, Dame Lillard came back for Game 6, but it wasn't after Indiana blew him out in Game 2 and won the classic overtime game, and Lillard wasn't playing and Giannis wasn't playing. You kind of knew where that series was going to go. You didn't really know where this Knicks series was going to go. I respect a ton of Halliburton. I mean, when you can clearly see when Indiana got Pascal Siakam, they became a different group. So you got to throw the regular season games out the window, as I talked about. There's variables to all three. The Knicks at least have some depth in the front court to deal with Miles Turner. And I don't think that if they can get him into foul trouble, that would be huge. Kind of turn Indiana, that smaller team. But I like the Knicks in 7 games to get to the conference final. Now, these teams have a history with each other, at least historically. Of course, everyone remembers the classic Reggie Miller finish in the early 90s. Knicks and Pacers had the Knicks won Game 7 94. Indiana won Game 7 95. Of course, everyone remembers the Larry Johnson 4-point play. But remember, the Pacers back in 2013, Knicks were the 2 seed, had home court. Carmelo Anthony had his best chance to go the deepest he's ever done with the Knicks. And Indiana and Roy Hibbert beat him. The Knicks can't take their foot off the gas pedal. You got the city on their back and handling success. How do they do that? Got to get off to a better start than they did last year. Where they lost home court quickly against Miami. Can't do that here. And to me, the key has got to be get these first 2 games. Doesn't matter how you get them. Remember, it's the playoffs. A win's a win. Got to get them. But I think the Pacers, Rick Carlisle, I respect the heck out of his coach. I mean, that's a guy that knows how to get the most out of the talent he's got. So I think it'll be competitive, but I'll take the Knicks. I'll take them in 7 to play either Boston or Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Final. Cleveland beat Orlando on Sunday. Donovan Mitchell has been fantastic. In these last couple games, he had 50 and a loss on Friday. Celtics are just too good, though, right now. Even without Kristaps Porzingis, it would take a lot. Donovan Mitchell have to have an insane, after Jalen Brunson-like series for Cleveland to have a shot. I want to remind you that for the last almost 10 years, IE Sports Radio has brought you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to keep up with the latest in sports and our shows. Also, check out our daily updated website, iesportsradio.com, for sports news, the IE Sports Radio blog, our Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month, pages dedicated to each podcast, our IE Sports Radio community forum, and stop by the shop and check out the merch. Thank you for making IE Sports Radio a direct feed for all that is sports. So, like I mentioned, we are here the next day after almost every postseason game the Rangers and Knicks play. Saw it in round 1. We had a little bit of a mix-up to not get you to Game 6 wrap-up right away. But every game the Rangers don't play, the Knicks are playing. Every game the Knicks don't play, the Rangers are playing. And that's what makes this fun. I think both these series, as I mentioned, are going to go the distance. And who would have thought you could maybe get 2 Game 7s in the Garden if that were to happen with a chance at a conference final for both these teams. Good things around the locals this week. Yankees, of course, swept the Tigers. Great test when they faced some tough pitching and they delivered. Rizzo. The Yankees had the walk-off hit on Friday. Juan Soto, the big clutch hit on Sunday. Mets, great debut for Christian Scott, but they get swept in Tampa. So one team great, one team not so great. We'll dive more to that on Thursday. Because the attention's all around the Rangers, and it's all about the Knicks for the next couple of nights. The Garden's rocking. Stadium's buzzing, court's buzzing, the ice is buzzing, the city's buzzing. Gotta love it. Follow me on Twitter, @thefader555. Follow us, the show on Instagram, @NYCSportsIE. Email me, rickjkeeler@gmail.com. I'm always happy to hear from you throughout these shows. I hope you enjoy Game 1 of Pacers-Knicks. Until next time, until after Game 1 of Indiana, New York, I'm Ricky Keeler saying,